Friends, today I'll be covering the operational aspect of our Look East policy. Right? To know more about it, please hear my lecture on Look East policy and Act East policy. As I said, like non-alignment, which was one of the fundamental pillars of Indian foreign policy during Nehruvian era or during the entire period of Cold War, similarly, in the present times, Look East policy is the fundamental pillar of Indian foreign policy. We can't imagine Look East policy without we cannot imagine Indian foreign policy without Look East policy, right? Um, I need not explain you the fundamentals of Look East policy. I have already done. Please hear my lecture on Look East policy and Act East policy, right? Then Asian countries has always viewed India as a counterbalance to China, right? As I said, because of many reasons, historical reasons, cultural reasons, and reason that China always tries to dominate. Its footprints are very, what should I say, heavy. Indian footprint is very light. India believes in diplomacy. India believes in slowly opening up, right? Which is acceptable to many of these nations, and most of these ASEAN nations also have quite inimical relations towards China, whether it is Philippines or Vietnam, Laos, or any of these countries, right? Malaysia, many of them are in direct conflict with China on the issue of South China Sea. So all these countries have always viewed India as a counterbalance to China, and these countries, like added to this, countries like United States, Japan, Australia, South Korea are supportive of India's greater engagement in this region. As I said, once again, please, to know all the details, all the aspects of it, please hear my lecture on Look East policy and Act East policy. And while covering SAARC, that is here my lecture on South Asia, there I have even told you how you should go about writing your answers. So that is one of the most important lectures. Do hear it, right? So India realized that there is no point in pursuing SAARC because of the completely hostile attitude of Pakistan, and there is no point in convincing Pakistan, because as long as army is the dominant power there, the major player there, it will never improve relationship with India, because they have a vested interest in continuing hostility with India, right? This fact has been realized by Government of India. As a result, we have literally made SAARC irrelevant. Although it is not dead, it is not disbanded, but it is more or less today has become irrelevant. Secondly, but at the same time, all other neighbors of India were cooperating with India. Well, they were cooperating with China also, but they were more inclined towards India. And this kind of approach happens in international relations. You can't say a country which is friendly to us should not be friendly with your enemy. That just does not work out in international relations, right? So as a result, many of India's neighbors do not have that kind of suicidal tendency against India which Pakistan has. They are quite pragmatic. Wherever it is beneficial, they will willingly cooperate with India. It is for that reason, in order to completely throw Pakistan out from any regional groupings, India started looking towards a different kind of regional grouping, which included countries of both ASEAN as well as SAARC, right? That is BIMSTEC and Mekong-Ganga Treaty, right? So in BIMSTEC, it is a regional grouping of a peculiar kind, which has members of two regional groupings. As I said, you can find members of SAARC in it, you can find members of ASEAN in it, right? And almost these countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, all these are members of, so except Pakistan, the entire SAARC is brought here, right, into BIMSTEC. Now let us see what exactly are both these agreements have been initiated by India, and India has rightly excluded countries like China and Pakistan, because with whatever good intentions India may initiate anything, these two countries are going to create problems for India, because their whole foreign policy is based on that. Then, through these arrangements, India aims to link its northeastern region with its Southeast Asian region, right? Because as I said, South Asia has suddenly become very, very important to India after end of Cold War, that is 1991. As a result, that will be successful only when we develop our Northeast and try to link it with Southeast Asia. So under BIMSTEC, this is exactly what India is going to do. Already it is in the process of doing it, right? Eastern region, Northeastern, to make entire Northeast from landlocked land link region, providing India with land routes to Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam and other countries of Southeast Asia. Through these initiatives, we are going to get, land access to all these major countries like Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam and other countries. Connectivity, right? It was established in 1987 with countries like what? BIMSTEC, right? India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Thailand, right? Well, there is some mistake there. It was initially, later it was BIST, that is Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka and Thailand. Subsequently it became BIMSTEC, right, in 2004 with the inclusion of countries like Nepal, Bhutan, Myanmar. It became Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. So you can find two, nuisance countries for India like Pakistan and China have been completely kept out, deliberately and for good reason, right? Otherwise, even these initiatives would have become literally defunct, right? Then focused areas of cooperation are trade and investment, technology, communications, energy, tourism, fisheries and transport. These are all extremely promising areas for cooperation among all these countries, right? And there are many projects that are coming up, and all these are part of India's Look East and Act East policy kind of projects that are being developed. Please hear my lecture on Look East and Act East policy, right? Enhancing the physical and digital connectivity like India-Myanmar Thailand highway, right? Cooperation in energy, transmission of highway for gas and oil pipeline. Cooperation in the areas like traditional medicine, handling of terrorism, transnational crimes, organized crimes, drug trafficking, legal assistance in criminal matters, right? And in 2005-15, it was declared as travel year in BIMSTEC. So this is about BIMSTEC. See, BIMSTEC's Mekong Ganga Pact are basically part of our larger policy called Look East policy, right? So this is about BIMSTEC. Let us take the next initiative, Mekong Ganga, established on 10th November 2000 with 6 countries, India, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam. What are the areas of cooperation here? Tourism, culture, infrastructure, connectivity, information technology. This pact is also part of larger objective of Look East policy, that is containment of China. There is not much to explain in this, right? There are number of projects which are part of this, like India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway, 165 kilometers long Indo-Myanmar Friendship Road, Trans-Asian Highway, India-Myanmar Rail Linkages, Kaladan Multimodal Project, Sitwe Road, India-Myanmar Bangladesh Gas and Oil Pipeline, Optical Fiber Network between Northeast and Southeast Asia. All these are part of our, in BIMSTEC and Mekong Ganga initiative, which in turn are part of our Look East and Act East policy. Kaladan multimodal transport and transport facilities. And I mean, this provides connectivity between Indian ports on the eastern seaboard and Sitwe port in Myanmar, and then through riverine, that is a river that connects to sea, right? Transport and by road to Mizoram, thereby providing an alternate route for transport of goods to North India, right? Then Myanmar has a special place for India's strategic and security perspective as it is a land bridge between India and ASEAN, right? That's what I said. The most critical country for the success of India's Look East policy is Myanmar and Bangladesh. This is the one reason why we are trying to cultivate both these countries. Regarding Bangladesh, please listen to my lecture on India-Bangladesh, right? Then India's Look East policy has failed to uplift northeastern region because most of the goods from ASEAN are sent through sea route. As a line route, it is highly safe on account of poor infrastructure and insurgency. So somewhere down the line, India will have to provide a very, good infrastructure which will provide us land connectivity to Southeast Asia, right? Unless we do that, many of these initiatives will not be successful to the extent desired, right? And it is for this reason, again, listen to my lecture on India-Japan. Japan is helping India with huge amount of funds to develop this region because Japan also has a stake in the success of India's Look East policy. So don't hear this lecture in isolation. Please try to hear it along with my lecture on Look East and Act East policy, right? With this, I conclude. Thanks.